Alright, so this is a custom order. They saw these bands that I made and wanted similar ones, matching ones, out of the gold from these bands and the gold from this white gold band. This is a 14K band, and these are 22K yellow gold. So this is a little thin because they need to be the same size. And I'm not going to be able to make something that's this thick out of something this thin. So I have some extra 14K gold to put with this. So something I have to do beforehand is take out these 3 little diamonds in this one. As for the yellow gold rings, I don't have to do anything to them. I just have to make sure I get the measurements from them, because it needs to be the same size as this particular one. And melting both of these down will give me enough metal to make a new ring. So the first basic thing I'm going to do is use my mandrel and figure out what size these are. So this particular ring, if you looked at it, is not 100% round, and it's pretty thinned out right here. So on my mandrel, it comes to a 12, so I'll be making it a size 12. As for our little gold rings, it is a 7.5. This one was told to me not to be the right size, so it's just there for material. So I need a 7.5 and a size 12. So I'm just going to write this down. So the yellow gold will be a size 7.5, and the white gold will be a size 12. Alright, so it's nice and all that I have all this out, but I don't need most of this because we need to start off everything by melting down these rings into some wire, so I can actually make it into this size of a wire, so I can make rings like this. So you might notice this little box later in the video, and it says gold on the front of it. You can open it up. I'm going to be using this for when I basically set my stones to catch all my gold as I'm drilling them. And it just clips onto my bench pin. And I designed this real quick in 3D software and then 3D printed it. So that's going to come in really handy in keeping my gold in one spot, since I don't have a catch. I also just like how the lid and outside came together. Alright, all set up for casting some metals now. So I'm going to be using a new crucible that is only meant for gold. Put those in there. I'm going to be using this to make the wire, and I need to add a little bit of lubricant to this. So before even doing any of this, I'm going to see how pouring this would be best for me. That'd probably be the best right there. So I'm going to leave it sitting like that. So I can just grab this and use it right away. But I need to heat this up, and I'm going to use a propane torch to do that. And if you're ever casting anything, make sure you have lots of ventilation going. I actually have my vent up here where you can't really see it. And I also have a window open with another fan that's actually sucking everything out through this little vent. So the reason why I'm heating this up with a torch is because it needs to be hot when we pour into it, and this is a giant chunk of steel, so it holds heat for a pretty decent amount of time, but it also takes a decent amount of heat to get it super hot. And if you don't warm it up and you pour your metal into it, it basically becomes hard instantly because it dissipates the heat into the metal, and then you get weird bubbles, or it just stops at the top and doesn't flow properly. So that should be good enough for now, and now we're going to start melting down our metal. And to do this, I'm using a Smith's little torch with a rosebud torch end on it. And I'm throwing a little bit of flux in there because it helps Alright, so that is all nice and molten. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it or not. There we go, yeah, you can see that. So now I need to start heating up the edges of this because if it doesn't have a hot path, it will have problems and start to harden up. Alright, now we'll see if that actually worked or not. There we go. So here we are, our little gold piece of wire that we're, well, our gold nugget that we're going to turn into wire. Alright, so I'm going to have to use my roller mill. So this is the size of wire I actually need to make for these rings. So if you look at it, it's not square, it's actually a rectangle. And that's because I took square wire and squished it. So I need to remake this, but using gold. So I'm going to take the little bit of gold and start putting it through the rolling mill. So you can see that it's already turning into a little square piece. But it's still pretty thick at 3.7. Yeah, about 3.7 millimeters. Alright, so it's about the right thickness now. It's a little bit smaller, but rolling it out, or flattening it out, it's going to make it a little bit thicker, and it's going to stretch a bit more. So now I'm going to switch it over to the flat part of this, which the cool thing about having a combination one is I don't have to do anything. I can just roll it through. So here we go. This is to the size I need, and it should match up with the silver one that I made. Or be at least pretty close. Alright, so before I can go any farther, I need to take these stones out. Alright, so I got all the diamonds out. That's these little guys over here. Tiny little ones. I'll put them in a baggie and put them to the side. All the rest of this I can melt down and add a little bit more gold so we can start making our bigger band. Also, if you're wondering, I weighed this ring and it was 1 pennyweight of 14K white gold, and I ordered another 14K pennyweight of white gold to mix with it. And since I have this nifty little container, I can put the diamonds in here. So this is a different crucible for just white gold. And I'm going to take my little boxy thing I made. Alright, there we go. A lot of flash on this. So I don't know if it's not seating right or what, but yeah. And the little bits that I put in here is because it actually splashed out some. So this should be enough to make what I need, and I'll cut all this stuff off. Alright, so now that we have this little guy, we're going to roll it out. Well, it looks like I ran into a little bit of a problem. So, this is the material for the smaller 7.5 inch, or size 7.5. And this is for the size 12. The problem is, there's not enough material here to make a size 12. So because of that, I have to order some more gold for this, and this video is going to come out later than it should. But you shouldn't feel too much of that because I should have everything now. Alright, so it's been over a week now, but I got the gold here, and as you can hear, I also got a haircut. So now we can finally make this the right length that we need. Just going to melt all of this together. Well, there we go. That's a lot more than before. Looks like there's a little bit of a kink here, but hopefully that will all just kind of stretch out. If not, it'll have a bubble in it, and we'll have to redo this later. Alright, so those are all done, and they're both to the proper lengths that they need to be, and thicknesses. And you can see this is 5 pennyweight, and this white gold one is just about 4. But this is 14K and this is 22 carat. So of course there's going to be a weight difference. So now I just need to cut off one of the edges so I can get a flat edge to measure from, and then cut off the length that we need. Alright, so I already did all the math needed to cut this to the right length, so I'm just going to mark it and then do my second one also. Alright, now with these both marked, I need to cut the excess off. Alright, so now I'm just going to anneal these so it makes it easier to bend into the actual ring shapes. Alright, so with them all annealed, I'm going to use the back end of my mandrel and wrap it around it. And now I'm just going to bend them around with some pliers without kinking any of this. So there we go. Getting this exactly flush is a little finicky, especially how thick this is. But it can be done. But I am more worried about this one, because it is a lot harder of a metal than 22 karat. So I'm going to heat this again and see if I can get it a little bit softer. Alright, so that did make it a little bit softer, but this is remarkably stronger than the 22 karat. Alright, so to get that all the way together, I'm going to heat this one more time so I can bend it that little bit more and have it actually stay. Alright, so that is close as I'm going to get it, and that was a pain to get to that point. So I'm used to working in silver, and it's nowhere as hard as this metal, so... Okay, so now I'm going to round these into actual ring shapes, and then we can start setting stones into them. Alright, there they are. They're all rounded into rings. I'm going to clean them up with a file to make sure everything is nice and smooth on the tops of them, and then I will get them ready for putting stones in. Alright, there they both are, all cleaned up. So now I need to mark the center line of these so we can figure out where the center is and start marking where we're going to put our stones. So to do this, all I'm going to do is measure the outside and find the average all the way around. So about 2.7. So if we take that in half, it'd be 1.35. And then what I'm going to do is use my calipers and scratch the line in. If you're using expensive calipers, I don't suggest doing this. I don't know how well this is going to pick up on the camera, but there's a line in the center of this now. And I'll do the same thing to the other ring. Alright, so now that they have the center line in them, we need to mark exactly where our stone's going to go so we can drill a hole through it. Because we have to drill all the way through to the other side. So you might have seen this one already in my other video showing how to make these type of rings. But how I've always done it, it's been a little bit off because of my measurements. So it'd make the spacings off like this after so many times going around. Which is fine, because this looks totally fine on here and most people would never even notice this. But with these ones, I'm going to be doing something else and making it so it has perfect spacing all the way around. To do this, I made these little templates. So what I did is I took the measurements from the outside of this, and then I multiplied it by 3.14, which will give me basically this length here. And then I spaced out all 7 of the stone points by just dividing that by 7, and then put it up like this. So now this is on sticky paper. I can just cut one of these out and wrap it around the ring. As you can see, I have it on the 22 karat gold one already. So to actually do the marking, I'm going to use some sharp dividers. So I'm just going to take my calipers and make sure they line up with the center points. And this one is a little bit off, so I need to tighten it up a bit. Just kind of push that into the metal, and it'll leave a mark. And then use that as a guide to move to the next hole. Alright, so all of them are marked now, and now I can take this off. Now I have them all defined and marked out, and I need to do the same thing to the white gold ring still. But this is one easy way to do this, is basically figure out all your measurements, put it onto paper, and then put it around here. So there is a way to do this with just math in general, but I don't know how to do it, and I don't want to take the time to learn how to do it, so this works perfectly for me. Alright, so both of them are all marked up. So now we have to do the drilling. So I'm going to use a small high-speed drill bit to drill the pilot holes on all of these. And I'm going to be doing it inside of my little container to catch all the gold. Alright, so I have everything all drilled out and to the right size using my ball burr and my setting burr. And if you want a more detailed video on how to actually do all that, I already made one on how to do flush settings. And I'll make sure to link it right up here and in the description and first comment that I pin. But anyways, we need to put stones into this now. So I have a little stone right here. This is around 1.7 to 1.8 millimeters. And these are actually real diamonds, but they are salt and pepper diamonds. So they have flakes of carbon inside of them if you look at them really close. But from what I've seen, just looking at everything inside of my container, I can't even tell. So I have it on here with the table down, and then I'm just going to place this over the top, and there we go. That gets it into where it needs to be. And I'm going to do this one at a time all the way around. So I'll show you the process that I'm going to do to get it set in there, and then actually flush set it. So I'll be using this little burnisher, and basically I'm going to fold the metal over the stone. Alright, I got all the stones set into both of these rings now. This one was more of a pain than this, because the metal is much harder. So I actually had to use this for the last couple pieces because I could not for the life of me bend the metal enough by hand to set these. So if you're ever working with really hard metals, I suggest getting one of these. I suggest getting one of these in general, but yeah, I absolutely needed it for this. So if you don't know what this is a handpiece that goes onto your Fordham, and it acts as a hammer. So you could hammer all this area down and kind of move it around so you can actually set stones. Yeah, it's an H15 handpiece if you're looking for it. And I'll have links, of course. But anyways, that's all done. We can clean these up and polish them. So as you can see, the sides are a little messed up, and we're going to need to clean that off and clean it up. And I'm going to use some sandpaper to do that on both of them and just make them flat. Then we're going to be using these tools to polish it up. These are just different grits that will basically cut and shape everything down. And then these two will be used to actually polish the piece for its final polish. So I'm going to use some 240 grit sandpaper and some water. So these are all cleaned up now, and they're relatively smooth on the outside. You can see all the scratches in them, but at least they're a uniformed level all the way around. So now we can start cleaning everything else up with our grits and taking down any of the little burrs left over from drilling the holes on the inside, and just cleaning it up in general. Also, this sandpaper now is worth way more than it used to be because it is covered in gold. So anytime you're working with gold or even silver, you can keep your materials that you used on it and eventually turn them in and actually get money back on them. So I'm going to take this and put it to the side.
We can say a lot in a little bit. Pressure in our minds made us throw a fit. We got that kind of loving that ain't counterfeit. It's foolish and useless.
So there was a lot of difficulties working with the gold, especially the white gold. I mostly work in silver, so I'm used to how it reacts, and this reacted completely different and way harder of a metal. But it is all done, and they are ready to go. So that's about it. If you found this video helpful, leave a like. If you have any questions, leave a comment. I try to get back to everyone. And if you want to see more videos like this one, subscribe to my channel. I try to get out videos every week. And if you want to help support my channel, I have a Patreon, and you can start supporting as low as $1. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.